We've been talking about cave diving gone wrong in the earlier videos, but today we'll talk about the cave that is fitting to bear the name, the cave diver killer. Over the years, cave divers have discovered several dangerous caves. These caves are classified as dangerous either because of extreme depth, extreme cold temperature, strong flow, or confusing paths. But just one is fitting to bear the name, the cave diver killer. The sign will give you a sense of how dangerous the cave can be. Imagine a cave sign with the message, "Stop. Stop your death. Go no further. There's nothing in this cave worth dying for. Do not go beyond this point." On the sign are also 4 facts written. They are: more than 300 divers, including open water scuba instructors, have died in caves just like this one. You need training to dive. You need cave training and cave equipment to cave dive. Without cave training and cave equipment, divers can die here. It can happen to you. At the end of the sign's message is a picture of the Grim Reaper with skeletons at his feet. This sign clearly shows how dangerous the cave is. What cave am I talking about? It's called Eagle's Nest Sinkhole, found northwest of Weeki Wachee Springs, Florida. Why is Eagle's Nest Sinkhole considered the most dangerous cave in the world? Let's get into the details. The cave is given the nickname Mount Everest of cave dives because of its extreme depth of about 310 feet. Unlike Mount Everest, the cave has killed many people who want to explore its beauty. Sylvester Muller, who was the vice chairman of the cave diving section of the National Speleological Society, called the cave a Venus flytrap. When you get inside the cave, you'll see lots of things that can easily capture your attention to the extent that you will not quickly realize how deep you've gone. Let's talk about what happened to 3 friends that dove into the Eagle's Nest sinkhole. Note that before the day they started to dive, about 8 people had lost their lives in the cave. 2 of the 3 friends are more skilled divers and had been to Eagle's Nest before. But according to reports, the 3rd friend had not explored the Eagle's Nest. The 2 more experienced divers' names are Peacock and Rittenmeyer, while the 3rd person's name is Blakely. At about 2 p.m. on Sunday, the 3 men entered the Eagle's Nest entrance water equipped with their scuba gear. The more experienced ones, Rittenmeyer and Peacock, dove deep, while Blakely, the less experienced one, was close to the surface. They planned to meet back at the agreed location by 3 p.m. At 3 p.m., Blakely was at the location, but the more experienced duo was nowhere to be found. After 30 minutes of exploring the surface, Blakely returned to the meeting point. Maybe his friends would be there, but they had not arrived. He checked back again after 1.5 hours, and Rittenmeyer and Peacock were still not there. When it was about 6 p.m., Blakely decided to call the police. The first crew of rescue divers that showed up searched the cave all through Sunday, but they couldn't find Rittenmeyer and Peacock. It was on Monday that another rescue diving crew found the 2 friends in an extraordinarily complex and dangerous area of the cave, at a depth of about 260 feet. Their bodies were trapped not far from each other. Remember that the 2 friends are more experienced divers. They have both had years of training and have dived in several cave systems throughout Florida, as well as in South America and Mexico, and yet they were trapped in the Eagle's Nest. This started a debate that had been going on for over 10 years about whether or not the public should be allowed to visit Eagle's Nest sinkhole. What happened to Rittenmeyer and Peacock under the water, and why were they not able to return to the surface? There are different speculations, like maybe they lost visibility, maybe they had issues with their gear, maybe they couldn't retrace their way back, or maybe something restricted them from going back. Some critics argued that even though there are many warning signs installed that tell people about the cave's danger, there is no way to force people to obey and prevent the inexperienced ones from diving into the depths because of how fascinating the cave is, which will put them in danger, and even the lives of rescue teams will be in danger if they attempt to save lost divers. An example of a novice that died at Eagle's Nest sinkhole is that of a father, Darren, and his 15-year-old son, Dylan, on Christmas Day. This was considered the most tragic incident at the cave. Darren and Dylan could dive, but both of them were not certified cave divers. They wanted to have some adventurous fun on Christmas Day, so they drove to a nearby dive site. However, it was closed because of the holiday. so they drove to the wildlife management area in Florida where Eagle's Nest is located. Unfortunately, they did not know about the historical danger of Eagle's Nest. From the investigation of their deaths, it was reported that they had gone down about 230 feet of depth, and they were not equipped to handle diving down to that depth. They did not have the proper training about how to dive at that depth, and they didn't have the right gas in their gas tank. It was assumed that the real trouble began when they got to the bottom of a section called the ballroom. The ballroom is a dark section of the cave, about 130 feet deep, where no lights can shine through to see the cavern's walls. From there, the section splits into two small caves that reach 300 feet in depth. Anyone who goes further than this place can struggle to find an exit and get lost. Darren and Dylan went further into one of the two small caves, and they reached a depth of about 230 feet. It was reported that what may have caused their death is called nitrogen narcosis, a drowsy feeling divers may experience if they dive 100 feet depth, which can make them feel drunk and lose concentration or a sense of good judgment. Nitrogen narcosis may have resulted from losing track of time and using too much air, so before they could get back to a safe depth, their air was dangerously low. Together with being low on air, panic may have made them forget to follow escape guidelines. Darren texted his fiancée just when they were about to start the dive, so his fiancée could guess when they would likely be back. After a long time of waiting, she went to look for them. She found Darren's car near the dock, but Darren and his son were nowhere to be found. It was then that she called the police. The police quickly arrived with rescue divers. They followed all the guidelines to look for missing divers and found Dylan's body trapped against the ceiling, just 6 feet from the ballroom's exit. They found Darren's body beside the warning sign that divers should not go beyond that point. Both Darren and Dylan's tanks were empty, and their mouthpieces had fallen out of their mouths. This and many other tragic occurrences have happened at Eagle's Nest sinkhole. About 150 divers, both experienced and inexperienced, have lost their lives. It was closed in 1999 because of the death record, but reopened in 2003. This confirms the Eagle's Nest sinkhole is fitting to give the title the Cave Dive Killer.